Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3.
Hello, welcome to City Alpha 3, a Star Trek podcast here on the Nerd Party. I'm your host, Philip Gilfus, joined by Daniel and Darren. Gentlemen, how's your end of January Trek 23 going?
End of January. Yeah, the month is just fell off, and we're steaming towards Picard. Is there anything after Picard on the docket? I can't. It feels like there's always some sort of Trek.
Not officially.
Not officially.
I mean, I assume Discovery's in a slot. If not,
do we have a season?
I think it's section 31. It's coming after Picard.
Because they've had the teaser for season.
I mean, she's winning all the awards, so I could see why they would want to bring her back.
I can see why she wouldn't want to. What about Daniel? How's DS9 going?
Well, we just met Cousin Galen and Quark.
And his moon.
Quark got into arms dealing, which he regretted immediately and fell apart.
Wait, I'm trying to. Do we ever meet Cousin Galen, or does he always refer? Okay, for some reason, I always felt he was one of those characters that we mention but never see. But I couldn't recall.
I'm a people person. I can't do an arms dealing.
Yeah, it was a pretty big leap of logic because they weren't bringing the weapons on the station, and he was only demonstrating them in the holosuite. Apparently, that's a big enough loophole that it doesn't count as arms trading.
What goes on in the holosuite?
Even though you're making the agreements and demonstrating the items, I thought that was a little bit of a weak excuse there, but it was a decent enough episode, and Quark gets the one up at the end, so that's nice.
Very good. Let's see. I'm still doing Picard season 2 against better judgment.
So it's better the second time, right? I hear it's just refreshing, and you're having a great go at it.
No. And then sort of non-Trek news, still in my 9th Doctor rewatch, which, I mean, goes, and I know this isn't the show for it. We all talk Star Wars all the time. Christopher Eccleston did a great job. I mean, like, again, that time, and you have to go back to, like, you've rebooted this old franchise that hasn't been on air in like 15 to 20 years. And the fact that he has drove that first series, I mean, you can talk about him leaving and all that.
Well, you could look at it as if he didn't do a good job, we wouldn't have new Trek, or sorry, new Who. Yep.
And so, so I mean, I'm very, because I haven't watched episodes in a while. Usually I'm stuck in like 11th or 12th or 10th, but I mean, if you like Doctor Who, or if you've never even watched it, 9th Doctor, some good stuff still in there for as old, hand quote, as it is. And of course, it's also interesting to rewatch, knowing that the showrunner, Russell T. Davis, is now back to running Doctor Who, and so you're trying to see probably what he's learned in those years. And my wife Jessica was reading an article about how he already has plans for spin-offs, which he did originally, because he did Torchwood, Sarah Jane Adventures. And that was just after his first year, or first year and a half, on Doctor Who. So now doing it for a new generation.
Is there going to be a story about like a lost civilization that lives in the TARDIS that nobody knows of? That's like deep in the bowels of the machine,
deep in the heart of TARDIS.
They're going to give K9 a show, right? That's what they're going to do.
They've done that before. That was back in. Well, I mean, he was on Sarah Jane Adventures. I mean, not like all the time. But the original, well, it wasn't a spinoff per se, but like before, this was like in the 80s. Sorry, I don't remember when it was. It may have been 2000s. But anyway, it was K9 and Company. It was Sarah Jane. So that's Doctor Who talk. But anyway, we are talk Trek, because that's what we do. We were talking earlier about, Picard season 3, bringing back the TNG cast. Obviously, we're going to learn about all the stuff we've missed between their adventures, between Nemesis and and now in season 3 Picard. And so I've been thinking, as we're prone to do, about sort of the missing stories in Star Trek. And just like when you think about like stuff we don't ever know, we just, there's gaps in the franchise. So, which, is fine. You don't have to fill every story. But I was just thinking about what sort of are everyone's sort of most intriguing missing stories. And so I'll just kick off my first one that got me thinking about it. And then we can go around and see what everyone else thinks. But I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking about Spock. And it just didn't hit me like, okay, the last time we see him is in Star Trek 6, Undiscovered Country, Captain Spock. I guess, sort of playing a diplomatic role. And then the next time we see him is not until Star Trek Next Generation Unification, when he's Ambassador Spock, who's, run away to Romulus.
Wasn't that during Sweeps Week? I remember that was a big deal. Like, and then it's Spock. And we're like, oh my gosh.
But like that's like 80 years. Like it's not just like, but like it's like a lifetime. We don't know what Spock was doing. Like anyway, I mean, it's just like, you think about like the missing era, and I don't want to steal anyone else's, but like the missing era has always been sort of between like we saw the Enterprise be launched, and then I don't know if you want to count Enterprise C because we didn't really see it, but like the Enterprise D, like there's like 70 years of Star Trek history. We're just a complete blank about the early to mid 24th century, but like, what was Spock doing, guys? I mean, like, there's not even like hints about like, oh, he was out doing. We no idea. Just disappeared and then came back. No one's ever like.
Did he get married?
That's what I was thinking. I wish they had put that in there or something like that. Just I do like that we don't really know. I do like that he's doing something entirely different when we do see him again after that long of a time. Because if he was just
writing his Vulcan memoirs, it's like, oh, I'm kind of disappointed in this.
And that may have gotten, I mean, you joke, that actually may have what got me thinking about it, because in Picard season 2, which shall not be named, if you remember, or probably you don't because you blocked it out, and that's fine. Picard gives Elnor a book by Spock to help Elnor as he's the first Romulan.
To say, I am not Spock? Yeah. That'd be amazing if that was the title.
But anyway, so Spock has written a book, now canonically. But so I'm like, when did he write that? Because also, a very private person. It's weird that he'd write about his time being, as a Vulcan in the Academy.
Well, there's 80 years of character development that we don't see. So he could be a different person for sure, as one would assume. Again, that's why I like that. Like, okay, maybe over time he sort of became, I don't know, obsessed isn't the right word, but like sort of fell in love with this idea of the
singularly focused.
Yes, yeah, I know. And like he was willing to. That was his life. His life is something different than what it was, and I liked that. I don't know that we needed to see that whole journey, but I do like that. That's just because it just would have been annoying if it was just like he was on the bridge of a ship the whole time. Like
he was meditating the entire time, and it's like accomplished nothing.
And it makes sense too, right? Because of his father. His father's a diplomat. That's true. Very easily
family
fit inside
business.
that. Yeah.
Now it's in the hands of the diplomats.
And now if I remember correct, because in Unification, which also has Sarek in it, part 1, or maybe it wasn't the episode Sarek. Sorry, it's all blending together because Sarek's appearances in TNG, but it seemed like they were on both sides of the debate. Like Spock, like maybe it was the Romulan debate about reunification. Sarek was on the no and Spock was on the yes. But because I know why, the real answer, but like because I'm thinking of like Lower Decks or any other like post TOS show where it's like, oh, Spock, he's cool because of the Enterprise and Kirk, but like. Did he not do anything cool again for 80 years? Like, oh, his mission to Gallus 5, and everyone knows that. Or,
if only in Discovery they had Michael Burnham like call out more of things that Spock had done, because she could have. Like, she had his whole life on a pad out there. Obviously, the unification was the big one, which is what they focused on. But maybe those smaller missions.
He also gets lost in an alternate universe, and then was lost. But that's what happens to him at the end. That's all.
Cool. So anyway, and again, I'm not saying like, oh, it should be a TV or a movie or a book or whatever. It's just like interesting to think about, this huge gap where we're like, he's just hanging around.
A thought experiment on SETI Alpha 3?
I know. But anyway,
Well-
what about? Go ahead, Darren.
So I was thinking about maybe because I think it's like a 73rd birthday, Alan Ruck, but I was thinking about our good favorite Enterprise B captain, who I think kind of gets the shaft in the amount of time we actually see him. And I mean, because he's captain of the Enterprise, like, yeah, he's in the shadow of Kirk, but like, obviously Starfleet chose him for a reason. He's obviously accomplished. You aren't given an Enterprise just for no reason. His ship didn't even have things. It wasn't ready to leave space dock. And Kirk he was pushing. He was pushing, but
There's something wrong with your chair.
But you know what? I want to know more about his missions. I know we have kind of the hand wavy. Oh, he mapped a lot of the beta quadrant and, gaseous anomalies and came back. But you know what? He was one of the few Enterprise captains who returned with his ship intact. I'm sure it's in a space museum somewhere, because I'm pretty sure it hasn't been destroyed. At least we haven't been told, to the contrary. So looking at the Enterprise wing, there's no Enterprise C. Thanks, Rachel Garrett. I mean, granted, I'm not saying it's not for a good reason, but
way to blow it. Oh, I mean, you helped secure peace in this universe, but like,
look. On a scale of ship to no ship, that's the only thing I'm talking about right now. Enterprise D, gone. Enterprise E, the front got really dinged up, so I think it was okay.
Technically, to be fair, Kirk did return his Enterprise, and it was then they fixed it all up and made it new again. And made it real easy to steal. So he did return it.
Oh, I see.
No.
And
then he took it back and blew it up and crashed it into the planet. So,
sure, as the epilogue. But you know.
And he was unsure about what he had just done. So all I'm saying is that, I think that would be, put it in a book or a novel or something. Like it makes me think of one of the more recent, I guess, in the time it was Discovery, but now you could almost look at it as a Strange New Worlds book. But the Enterprise War is one that I've read, and it basically shows where was the Enterprise during all of this Klingon, mini war battle stuff. And they're like in a nebula doing their own thing. And I'm like, oh, look, here's the Enterprise totally cut off doing its own mission for like a year or two. So we can obviously talk about the Enterprise B doing the same thing and what's going on. And again, as much as the beta quadrant is the mythical outer bound, no, the beta quadrant's like the right half of the galaxy, because for some reason the alpha quadrant is just a line drawn down through Sol. And I would love to see that story. I think it would help redeem the captain, and I think we need to see he's got an Excelsior class ship at his beck and call. I want to see that thing go through its paces.
Yeah, no, and I agree, because that was actually on my list too. Because it would be nice to know, and I don't, without knowing the history. I mean, was he the captain the whole time? Did the Enterprise B have like 12 captains for all we know? I don't know, and so it would just be interesting.
So it's like a Discovery situation.
Captain of the
a new season.
Yeah, because obviously he didn't do well in the pilot episode of Enterprise B, so we had to recast for the series. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it'd be interesting, especially a young captain. You can see him grow over time. Ensign Sulu, does she ever get promoted? It's it'd be interesting stuff. Especially that gap, because it's like, NCC 1701, then you get the A, and then pretty close is the B. I mean, pretty close. And then I feel like there's the gap. I'm guessing, I'm sure it's official on some observation deck of the Enterprises, but like pretty decent gap until the Enterprise C, and then pretty decent gap to the Enterprise D. And so it'd be interesting to any reason why, we're like, we're going to stop doing Enterprises for a while just in case.
After the Enterprise C, you could, especially since it was just, lost, you could see why they would maybe hold off on using the name for a while. So,
It'd be like, I mean, I'm not trying to be. I mean, I'm being funny. I'm not trying to be funny about people dying, but like it's like when the Challenger blow up next, like Challenger A. Like we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait, guys. We're just not gonna go straight in. All right. What about you, Daniel? What's your?
So we've been talking a little bit about this recently, and technically, Prodigy could fill in some of these gaps, but I still do want to see what happened when the Voyager returned. Not just like the 3 seconds of fireworks that we get, but like actually what happened to the people.
Prepare for debrief week.
It would be a huge man. Can you imagine what that would be like? Everybody on the crew,
heaps of pads, so many pads you have never seen before.
And I would like to see. Obviously, now we're kind of getting an idea of what happened with Janeway and Chakotay, and Paris has some sort of a plate, but. I'd just like to see what happened to the people, and then I don't like what the novels did because they have them like go right back out again, and then I'm like, no, don't do that.
They were part of like the full
Delta.
circle fleet, I think is what they called it, and basically their way of going back. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Well, we have seen Seven, a little bit of what she was up to.
Sure, that's true, but we don't. Oh, and we've seen Icheb, so and
technically, yes, we have seen that.
Janeway,
Wish we could
Chakotay.
unseen. So is it really
Paris,
just B'Elanna we haven't seen?
I haven't seen
crew?
B'Elanna.
And Tuvok.
and the Doctor.
Kim.
Okay, so a good
Half the
chunk.
crew.
Yeah.
I mean, Paris, we just know he got promoted
You mean
and was
Lieutenant
still
Kim?
alive.
He finally made it.
but-
No, just kidding.
Yeah, it's true. The Paris that we saw. Oh no, that's true. Yeah, I mean, he was
Lower Decks,
actually
yeah.
the Paris. Yeah, so he was just animated, but
Yeah, you're really
Still
happy.
counts. So
Yeah. But yeah, no, because I think 7 is an interesting. Well, maybe it isn't. Because we sort of get the hand wave like, oh, I tried to join Starfleet, and Janeway helped, but they said no because Borg, and so went out on my own. And I guess maybe that's the whole story, but I still feel like there's more there. I mean, I don't know. Like, would Janeway be like, I tried. Oh well. Like, that's not very Janeway. I feel like she would have been very like, I will, resign if you don't take care of 7. And then like learning more about the Fenris Rangers. It's more
you would think
another.
also Picard could step in at that point as well and be like, "Hey guys, I was also a Borg, and there's some precedence here."
No. But you're cool. We know you're cool. We know you're never gonna go evil again. Like, do you know that? Do we talk about the first contact incident where you didn't call me to come help fight the Borg for some reason?
Because then it would have been interesting. We don't, because we sort of hand wave assume, but like we don't actually know how 7 and Jean-Luc know each other, other than like, oh, all Borg know each other, which that's speciest. So like, did they meet at some briefing or some?
Q and
conference?
7 and Picard, they're all sitting on like 3 folding chairs
therapy.
in the gym. It's get together once a cycle, and we joke, but there probably was something like that.
Well, like, and but like even the Hugh story, we're just like, I mean, if you remember Descent, which again, not a great story, but all we left were like, there are these group of Borg and blah, blah, blah. But then magic. He gets deborgified,
Zordon helped them. We all know
That's
that
right,
he would.
that's right.
I have
Anybody
chosen
gonna
you,
help him.
Borg, for a special mission. You are Borg with attitude.
Oh man, and they did my boy Hugh dirty. But that's not surprising. But there you go. There's a secondary one right there. The history of Picard and 7 and how they got to meet. That'd be cool to know. They could do a flashback scene. Why not?
Well, it's my next one. I have two, I have several, but I have 2 that I want to. I'll pick one. I'll pick one that I just wrote down because you made me think of it, Darren, inadvertently when you're talking about the Enterprise War, and I know why, but still. The Enterprise E during the Dominion War. Like, I mean, I know why, but like, what were they doing? Were they fighting? Because we get insurrection, which is like, we're going to do this diplomatic thing while there's a war going on. I'm like, I get it. But like, what else have you been doing other than like,
You're right. I kind of forgot about that. Like in watching the season of DS9 I'm in, which is the heart of the war, and Worf is there, which I forget the fact that if Worf is there, it means the Enterprise has been destroyed. the Enterprise D has been destroyed.
Right.
And for some reason in my brain, in the large sweeping shots of the fleet, I picked just one of the Galaxy class, and I'm like, no, I picked the Galaxy class, and I'm like, oh, that's the Enterprise, because I've forgotten that it's gone at this point. Well, I mean, obviously, I remember this more when it was the late '90s and it was all just happening. So, but okay, yeah. So, what is or is it even launched yet? You know, is there like a gap between the D falling and the E being launched? If only there was a book about that.
Well, no, because we know First Contact had the Defiant, so we kind of know the time period. And then Insurrection is during the Dominion War, because they're like the bad guys. Sona? Anyway,
Sona.
Like, they have Ketracel White facilities. Like, why are we friends with these people? You know, and but
by the time the part that you're watching, Darren, First Contact has already happened. So we have seen the Enterprise E at this point. So
okay,
yeah, because remember, they only have their uniforms because First Contact made them wear those uniforms.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Would you live like you're the DS9? Which, I mean, I know they're all kind of the same production team, but like you're running DS9 and then like First Contact drops, you're like, no one was going to tell us, really? Okay, well, let me just burn all these uniforms, I guess, or you know. You can ship them to Voyager. No, I'm burning them.
You know, the Voyager obviously doesn't have a tailor, so they can't make new uniforms. Sir, replicators exist. No, I'm sorry. There's no
tailor.
way. There's no way for them to. I think that would have been. I mean, maybe they did, and I don't remember in my rewatch. But like, I think it would have been funny for Garrick to make some sort of comment about the new uniforms. Like, Starfleet seems to like new uniforms very often. Like,
good for business.
Seems highly inefficient.
Well, that would be cool. I mean, it would be stupid, but I like stupid. If one of the shots in his tailor's shop, he just has like all the past 5 years of Starfleet uniforms. Like,
his inspiration board as he's coming up with a new. Or, I mean, again, it's really weird to do this, but like you could have that inspiration board, and it's like, wait, Garrick developed the new uniforms that were adopted across which again makes no sense whatsoever. But hey. Why not?
In the small universe theory of like all our characters are only doing what all the characters we know are doing. So
he's the only tailor in the galaxy because he's the only one we know. So obviously he is the one who made the new uniforms.
But yeah, I guess the last thing I'll say, as far as the Enterprise E, I just want to say Enterprise, but you can't. The Enterprise E during the war is because, I mean, like as we saw in DS9 and then the stories in DS9, I mean, you know, war is war. It'll change you or do stuff to you. But like, so, you know, what did Data have to face, you know, fighting Gemini? You know, like, I mean, like you think about our TNG characters, like what did the war do to them? I mean, that was, you know, not fun. And they obviously had to go through stuff, and they weren't just like, we're sending you to deep space exploration for the next 2 years. You know?
You would think that the Enterprise would probably have been stationed at Deep Space Nine for a good majority of that,
or be leading the charge somewhere.
They were doing
like
beta
the flagship,
just in case.
Yeah, yeah, just in case the Klingons attack.
There's no wormhole there, so yeah. But
well, I mean, again, we all know the real reason of like you don't want to overshadow the main characters of your show and be like, well, it's actually more. Yes, we've said that DS9 is the most important location in the Alpha Quadrant because of the wormhole, but it's really the good job being done by the Enterprise right now. If only we could show you.
But like, yeah, which I know that, but like, I know that's the reason. But like, I would be like, you could do it like a passing reference. Oh, the Battle of Chinook 5. It was the Ramsey, the what, and the Enterprise. You could just do like listing 5 ships, include the Enterprise at some battle that took place. You don't have to go to detail. You have to go to like who died.
They did just have something like that. It was when it wasn't when the station fell. What was it? There was some battle that was happening, and the Federation wasn't helping, and it was basically just DS9 holding its own, and Admiral Ross at the end says, "Hey, like because like I know this was hard, but because of you guys holding this front over here, the bulk of our fleet, destroyed their shipyard. Like they destroyed the Dominion shipyards in so-and-so system. And I think, all they needed to sad was destroy, the bulk of our fleet led by the Enterprise, destroyed. Like, that's all they needed to say. That's all they needed to say.
It's even worse than that, because I just looked it up. And not only, so there are 3 appearances, quote unquote appearances, of a Sovereign class ship in Deep Space Nine. And they're all LCARS graphics. So, like, we don't even see a Sovereign class ship in Deep Space Nine. And it's like, why not? They had the digital model at that point. They could have used it.
Oh, it's true. And if I think about it, like all like Sacrifice of Angels or all that stuff, like all the big fleets, like it's Galaxy classes, but there's no Sovereigns.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they're worried that if somebody sees a Sovereign, it's immediately the Enterprise.
I mean, you would think that if that were a worry, you wouldn't want them to be all Galaxy classes, because that's a much more recognizable ship. At that point, if you've only had one appearance of the Sovereign class, you know what I mean? That's not...
Well, and you have like the Odyssey and its destruction, which was basically their way of saying, if this was the Enterprise, it would have suffered the same fate.
Yeah. Which I'm not buying. That captain was no Picard. But sorry.
But he was an old
you,
man, an old white man in the center chair. It's all we need to compare. I think, it's interesting as Star Trek has kind of started to fill out other little eras and whatnot. But it could have been, there's some parts where I feel like I just want to know more about this Federation. Like, I want to know, like, who brought the Bolians in and why? How was that first contact? How did that go? Were they always barbers? How did that start?
I'm sure you didn't mean that emphasis. Who brought them in and why? Darren Moser, anti-Bolian.
Okay, not anti-Bolian,
no,
but
I'm
more
kidding.
just like,
No,
not like, or not the Bajorans, the Beta Zeds, or like any of these species, like what is their first contact, or not even first contact? Because I'm assuming they were met, but they were already warp, so it would have just been like, hey, do you want to join our club?
Well, it'd be interesting to get an idea, or more of an idea, of how long some members have been in the Federation versus others. Like, by TNG, everyone sort of just feels like, oh, everyone's been a member of the Federation for 80 years. But, like, for all we know, the Bolians have only been in for the past 10 years or something,
Do you think, like, if you're there for 50 years, you get, like, the diamond card or whatever? They give you a watch or something? Do you think, like, the 4 founding members...
You get a star on the flag.
Oh, there you go, yeah. Or, like, the 4 founding members have, like a private dining area or something, like a bar that they get to go to that nobody else can go to. I don't know. That's interesting. We don't get a lot of, like, I can't even think of an episode that just is like super hyper political that dives into like that sort of minutia. Like even the joke with Lower Decks, right? With the second contact, like that's the joke. I still don't know anything about how that whole process would work. I guess I get it would make sense that a secondary team would come in behind and do some follow-up stuff. But obviously it's all played for jokes on
or like that one episode where they're like, and then the Enterprise left. It's like, and then we come in and do the actual paperwork and you got to pick your frequency. It's just a number. Which again, like you said, Daniels, it's played for laughs, but like, no, like in a functioning Federation, you kind of need to officially make contact. Well, and I'd love to actually see that process. And then maybe I'm doubting it, but maybe we'll get it in Lower Decks. I feel like it's not really their directive anymore. But
to be fair, we do. I mean, that's kind of the entire premise of Deep Space Nine. And presumably most induction into the Federation stories are not as intense as that. But really, I mean, Picard, that's Picard's mission to Sisko in the first episode.
That's
and
true.
Then it's not until the end of season 7 that it happens. So like that's kind of the inciting factor for Deep Space Nine. That's kind of why we care, why we're there. And it's like to really sort of
and the wormhole, but yeah.
Well, that we didn't know that at the beginning. So,
Well, because I'm wondering questions like, does Bajor need to get rid of all of its currency now, or is it just like they can use it? Like, what are the definitive rules that you have to change in your society to join the Federation? Because we know they exist. I don't know what they are, but like, do you have to get rid of your money? Do you have to guarantee certain freedoms and rights to your citizens? Like, because not every planet is going to be a cookie cutter. Oh yeah, we have exactly the same ideals as the Federation. This is a perfect match. Why didn't we do this before? It's like, no, it's a whole governing planet of a single species that now has to fold itself into, like, I feel like as television, modern television is much more about the strife, and it's not quite the utopian Federation that we've known and grew up on in the 90s. But like, I would be okay seeing that. I'd be okay seeing, a new planet coming in, and they actually have to hammer out like, hey, because it's always been done with a hand wave of like, oh, you're not ready for Federation citizenship because half of your planet is slaves to the other half. And it's like, okay, well, obviously, I mean, that's a deal breaker, but like, it could be.
You went like the 90% thing, like, okay, guys, you got freedom of the press.
Oh, yeah.
No slavery. What's this thing about Brussels sprouts every Friday? What's that? Can you explain that?
Well, or I think in Lower Decks of the Billups, the I just watched that episode recently. The chief engineer, and his whole planet is like medieval times where they all, but they're also obviously like a monarchy. So how, like, is that okay? Does that work within Federation as long as, obviously that's not a deal breaker for being a Federation, or maybe they were a colony.
Are they Federation? Or are they just a different society?
I think they are part of the I don't know. That's a good question.
And
but
the other half of the equation is important too, right?
Magic.
So like what the qualifications that a planet would need to have, a society would need to have is interesting. Also, what do they get out of the deal? I mean, presumably, obviously, they're going to get protection, but there's got to be
one word for you: replicators.
That's right, replicators.
Again, we also saw this in Strange New Worlds. Because they have that scene where Pike is negotiating with a race to bring them into the Federation, and they're like, yeah, we're seeing through the song and dance, like, what's the actual benefit to us? And he's like, I don't know, there's really not one. Like, our enemies are now your enemies, and like, and he's straight up front, and the guys are like, we actually prefer straight up frontness, and now we will join your I mean, it's seriously what happens in the episode. But it's a good point, because like, they are asking those. I need to watch that episode again, because like, they are asking those kinds of questions. It's the one where Spock and his wife trade bodies, and because that's
actually a better episode than I would have thought,
because he's supposed to be negotiating, and it's like, but they ask some, not all, but some of those questions of like, what is in it for us?
Who would make that decision though? Too, like, in your society, like, even if you were you're a representative sort of government, who would make that decision? Like, would there have to be a
referendum?
Populist, a referendum or like a vote?
What's the opposite of Fed-exit? Fed entrance.
No, that's a good point, Daniel. I mean, and maybe that is one of the requirements for joining Federation, is you have a certain type of government that is stable to a certain point that can handle becoming part of a Federation. And I mean, they do kind of tout it as like, we're just here to help. Like, we're not changing your society, but you kind of are.
But here's
like adding your technological and biological distinctiveness to our own. It's not a big deal.
I mean, we're kind of dancing around the fact that a Federation by itself is kind of an act of colonization of the galaxy. Like, it's kind of hard to not have some aspect of that.
Well, and it is interesting.
Or what? Sorry, what were you saying, Daniel? I think you had something to say.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, it'd be interesting to see what the Federation denies non-Federation members. Like, I mean, some simple things. But even then, I feel like there's still a process. So, like, for instance, Ferengi are not part of the Federation, So, but Nog wants to go into Academy, so you have to like do a couple extra pieces of paper. Whereas maybe it'd be automatic if you were a Federation member.
Extra pads, Philip. Extra pads.
He did need a
letter of recommendation.
Recommendation, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question too. You would assume, man. The more we talk about this, the more it actually looks bad for the Federation. But like, so say the Ferengi, so the Ferengi have no interest in the Federation. There's no profit in it, right? They would not join. They would so.
They don't miss many of the qualifications that I'm sure are on that list. Like, well, you don't force your females to not wear clothing or be able to own property.
Which is, it's odd that that's a specific box we have, but I'm just asking. I'm just reading what's on the form.
But so if you think about it, right? So they're their own society, right? They bump up against the Federation, probably due to the Federation, not even due to Ferengi are like in their own bubble. They're fine. Federation comes through. Right, and if the Ferengi say no thanks, thanks, but no thanks, then but they probably have some sort of an agreement. I don't know what like a
trade agreement,
whatever it is. So you're still forcing them to do something, to interact with you in some way, in some manner. So it feels like you're kind of screwed if you do. It's screwed if you don't. Like because they wouldn't just. The Federation's not going to just leave you alone. Like you're either going to join us or you're going to in some way interact with us, right? So it's just interesting to think about it that way.
Yeah, I'm looking at one of the maps because like that's kind of a good explanation.
Non-aligned world.
Yeah, well, you have like the Ferengi Alliance, you have the Breen.
Yeah.
I think there's something called like the First Federation, which is like
the Alpha Quadrant.
The old Federation that like we are taking your name, but I guess we'll let you be.
I believe that's a reference from the Corbomite maneuver.
I think it's a TOS. Yeah. But then you have the Cardassian Union, which, as it stands as a union, like it's made up of many worlds.
But we only ever see the Cardassians.
Yeah. Well,
Well, same thing with the Klingons and
go into the capital.
We see the Remans.
Yeah. Well, it makes more sense for the Klingons, right? They just take over and kill everything. And
the Orions.
Wait a minute.
Or Orions.
We learned that the Klingons do join the Federation. Is that in my brain somewhere? From somewhere? Maybe Star Trek Online? They
confuse it because I think in season 1 of TNG, if you remember, if you remember is it the first episode with Klingons where, the two beam aboard and Worf and they all yell? And anyway. There's a graphic when they're talking to not the bad Klingons, but the good Klingons. But it's the Klingon symbol with a Federation logo at the bottom. Right? I don't know if it's the Starfleet one or the Federation one. I can't remember. But anyway, it would cause one to believe like, oh, the Klingons have been conquered, quote unquote. But I think it's just like, post, and again, 80 years, we don't know what happened. But like, after the Khitomer, 80 years ago during Spock's time, like I feel like that was an alliance or a non-aggression pact, if you will.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. But for some reason in my brain, I'm like, oh, but there was a story or something. Maybe it's an alternate future. I can't remember. But the Klingons joined the Federation at some point.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at a couple of their names. We have the Gorn Hegemony. We have the Tholian Assembly. We have. I guess
you must be at least this degrees to join
the Sona and the Baku. Their little kind of pocket.
Boiler, they're the same people.
I know, but yeah,
they're always the same people. If they introduce two species in the same episode, turns out they're going to be the same.
Pretty much.
Well, because in Picard, and again, I know. In Picard season 2. Anyway,
that's the one you're watching.
You're the one watching it, Philip. You would know.
Well, I'm trying to remember this exact scene, and I can't remember it because it's when Picard's at Starfleet Academy. Maybe it's episode 1 again. I'm thinking of at season 2. But anyway, there's the flags behind him, and at first glance, and it probably is, it's flags from the different members of the Federation. But I think there is and again, I might be wrong, but I think I'm right. Like the Klingon flag, there's one you wouldn't think that fits in there. As far as it's just Federation members, that's clearly whatever I'm thinking of.
Maybe it's Discovery?
25th century or something.
Like when they jump ahead 1,000 years? Because didn't the Ferengi? Weren't the Ferengi? Man, I don't know. It's been a while.
We don't know. Yeah. But, that's a good point. And I kind of, I can't really, I don't know. I feel like with the Klingons example, that at best we would have like a really solid treaty with them, but I cannot really see them fundamentally being in line enough with the Federation to actually be a member world. Like, they have an empire. Like,
I was going to say, your name is literally Klingon Empire. I think we have a problem as far as...
So how do you promote your commanders to captains in your society? We murder. We murder.
We make room for them.
What do I have to do to get promoted? Die.
How many death rituals do you have in your society?
Over, under. And there's different boxes.
Just, it's a ballpark figure. Ballpark figure, sir.
If it's over 100, there's a special form I got to attach to it.
You get a bonus.
You with the Z190. Oh, well. All right. Well, let's just do maybe one last round. I forget where we even left off. Daniel, you have any left?
I was just going to say, and this is kind of cheating too, but I still wanted to see it because it sounded cool. Was the Romulan War in Enterprise that we didn't get to see, but because it was kind of felt what it was building up to from the beginning, anyways, because it was right before the timeline or whatever. And I would like to see how they would have handled that because we get that one line from Balance of Terror or whatever. I think it's Balance of Terror where they said, "Oh, we've never seen them before," and that would have been weird. Weird to fight a war where you never actually see somebody. Not really sure how that would work, but that would have been cool to see.
In some ways, I know people think would think it's stupid. I think it'd be fun to see because as a creative, I think it's more fun to operate under these weird parameters. Like they can never see each other. They can only, operate by. I mean, you'd have to hand wave some of it because, like, I think in Bounds of Terror, like, we only operated by like subspace is the only way we communicate it. But you can play with that a little bit with audio or something, like how they communicate it. But like, it'd be fun. Like, yeah, how would you make that at war? Where it'd be fun to write and figure it out. What about you, Darren? Any final ones?
No, I was trying to think of what I'd want to see, and it varies between like, something big, like you said, like the war of the Romulans, like what was that about, to like something small, like what happened to, O'Brien teaching at the academy, engineering, like let's see, if only there was a short sort of Trek based show where we could have these one-off episodes and honestly that's what they really should be doing with short Treks. Like,
Darren, are you pitching Mr. O'Brien's classroom?
Yes, and he takes attendance and he's like, you done messed up Aaron galore, whatever the name is very different, but why not? Like, I think Short Treks would be really interesting if it had nothing to do with the plot of the currently running show. It's just, hey, we got Colm for a week. Let's throw him in this blue screen set and tell this one story of his first day teaching at the or his last day or whatever.
Are you familiar with Boy Meets World? Okay, we're studying.
Man, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
but at this point,
bring back Keiko, bring back like Bashir, and they're all like having dinner.
Two
and
children,
it's like 3 scenes. Keep it simple.
Molly,
that'd be hilarious.
Yoshi?
You could even, if you wanted to, you could even have Kira. She had the baby, so there you go. But no,
Auntie Kira.
If you did get Colm, I'm thinking, because obviously, he's obviously aged quite a bit, so he could still be teaching, but he could be like, the head of the engineering department, even.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. What a great idea. Let's do it. 20 minutes of that sounds awesome.
Yeah. And again, like you don't have to give it a star date or whatever. Just tell us a little bit of what happened to this person and do it with all of these people that we have while we still have them, because now is the time.
So yeah, like you could, I mean, like obviously you would think cadet, but you could even go new teacher at the academy, and they're like, before you start, you got to go talk to the chair of the department, and then it's like, they live, It'd be funny, like there's some like
he actually doesn't have a chair. Apparently, after years of standing, he prefers to stand at his standing desk.
I just came up with the perfect idea. We literally just talked about how Nog needed a letter of recommendation.
Mhm.
What if there was some young Cardassian that wanted to be the first Cardassian engineer in Starfleet?
Highly specific, but all
well, because it ties up because O'Brien is racist against them, so
he's working on it. But
well, that's the thing, and that's you can have a nice, cute little story where like
young Cardassian,
they come in, they have to prove themselves to him, and he has to a very uplifting message.
I feel like we also kind of dealt with that with the one where with the communications array and the female Cardassians that thought he was stupid. Like we kind of no, I'm not disagreeing. I want to see your story, but I feel like they kind of trudged on that particular type of topic. But yeah, I would love to see a Cardassian trying to get his recommendation letter.
They're half Cardassian, half
recommendation
Jemadar.
pad.
Half Jemadar.
Oh gosh. It's like what? It's like you're probably wondering about my parents. Nope. I don't want to think about it. You don't have to go into any detail. Just
he's like, I'm trying to figure out what other wars I fought in to see who might be any of your relatives.
He pops open a can like and drinks it. It's like I got to take like 2% white every day. It's part of the.
See, I thought you were talking about O'Brien, and he just had a 6-pack of root beer.
Oh no, this is the half Cardassian, half Jemadar, which I don't think is even possible. But yeah.
And I'm just wrapping up here. We don't even have to go into it, but the less ones I had left on my list was the history of the Borg. I know it's there's always those things you don't really want to see because then it'll ruin the magic. But like,
the magic's already kind of ruined. So,
did you see season 2 of Picard?
Are you really doing any damage?
Yeah, let's just be like, where'd they come from? Like, I don't have to get like the origins of the species.
Now I'm picturing Girardi in
ago.
like a children's storytime circle sitting, and now children, I'll tell you the story of the Borg.
Then my other
to properly know it, I must assimilate your minds.
Yeah,
and
I know.
let you know.
Now
It's like, what?
And then my other one is just the Daxes. There was a bunch of hosts, and we know more about some, and little about others.
That's true. That would be. I mean, obviously, the Dax is the most well known to us symbiont. But that would be really cool. And again, you could have different actors play every single one.
Anthology series.
Yeah, could do it that way
because they changed. But
I was thinking
you could have Nicole. Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking you could do a Curzon and a young Cisco show. Short. That'd be.
That's the name of the show, Curzon and Young Cisco.
Yeah,
it's like a young Sheldon.
The only one who I mean, I know we saw him in like. Where she becomes, Dax. For some reason, part of my brain always thought that Curzon was a Klingon.
Oh, yeah.
Had a really hard time.
He was respected by the Klingons.
I know, and I think he was like an ambassador to them or something. But like, there was part of me that was like, was he a Klingon? Like, I was never 100% sure.
That's not how that's not how symbiotes work. But
I know. Yeah. If it could barely survive in Riker, I doubt it would survive in. Although Klingons got all those redundant organs and stuff, I'm sure
you just slide one of those out and put.
Yeah, you need your third liver. No, just stick the symbiont in here, and or even just more. I mean, I know you're gonna say. Like we got a lot of it, but like more Klingons, like actually explain the society and what they're all about. And like, we really could have gotten into that. We just never did.
Yeah. No, I agree. Now I've just wondered, just for the troll talk, this is just one of those like questions. Maybe it's like a whole different episode, but can the Borg assimilate a Trill?
I would think so. I don't think there's anything. Oh, I see what you're.
Do they assimilate the symbiont?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, presumably, yeah.
Because the host can't live, so we're told.
I don't think the Borg. What can the Borg not assimilate? I don't know off the top of my head.
So would they also get the knowledge of several lifetimes and?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you think so.
It's just a biological connection. So
does the Trill get two different species designations, or is it?
Are they like 7 of 5.2? And,
Now, what's more important is, can a Borg assimilate a Horta? And I'm going to say no.
See, when you were starting to say Trill, at first I thought you were going to say Tribble, and I'm like, can a Borg assimilate a Tribble? I'm like, would it want to? But
now I can see. Now I want to see the First Contact storyline, but instead of Data with the Borg Queen, it's an exocop. I can bring you closer.
According there is a Tribble of Borg, which is in Star Trek Online, and it's the silliest looking.
Of course
thing.
it is.
Okay.
Of course it is.
All right. Well, before we get completely off the rails here, so yeah, that was fun. Just sort of venturing into sort of the gaps of, do we really want them all answered? Maybe, maybe not, because once you get your wishes granted, they're often not what you wanted. But anyway, there's still lots of gaps to fill, and as Darren said, short treks, start writing your letters. No one writes letters, but start writing your letters now to bring that back. Why not? Goodness. So, well, until next week. I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Brew.
And I'm Darren Moser.
Stranded here. And there's so many stories we could tell that we've spent here, but we're not going to go into those missing years. But stranded here on City Alpha 3.